I just want to talk to you quickly about some of the things that I've received in recent times from my community about some of the challenges that people are facing in hitting their goals. I sent out a questionnaire earlier this week within my community to ask questions from people in terms of some of the biggest goals they've set this year and some of the challenges that they're facing in hitting the goals. And what I want to share with you today are the things that I've deduced from the results that I got from them and the things to do about some of the challenges that they faced. A key challenge that I saw was recurrent was lack of accountability, lack of motivation, and the need for clarity or how to overcome procrastination. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you uh, 6 things that you can do to overcome procrastination and distraction as you move forward towards the goal. Now, before I go forward, I want to say categorically that when you are doing setting goals, one of the mistakes we make at times is people start to set goals based on what they have. A lot of times when you're setting goals, you should think about what your ideal life will look like. What does it really look like, you know, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now? What is that ideal life that is coming on the screen of your mind? You have to remember that whatever that ideal life is, it was given to you. So any thought that shows up in your mind, any vision you see in your mind's eye has been given to you. When we are setting goal, I always recommend that you set goal from the future. Set goal from the future, which means you travel to the future, you live in the future, you enjoy the emotion of what that future entails, right? And then you bring that back to the present and you begin to then set goal from there. What that does is it doesn't put your goal to the future of 15 years from now, like it's something that you have to beg God for to achieve, like something that is unattainable. Basically, when you do it this way, you already enjoy the promise of God. You already enjoy the future that you are going to. You already live in that future, right? Before you begin to set the goal. So when you're setting goal from the future, not to the future, what will happen is that the emotional feeling of gratitude, the emotional feeling of joy that you will enjoy when that goal comes to pass, you will have enjoyed it now. Now, why is that important? Is because as you go through life, at times your goal may seem as if it's not going to come to pass. You might have stumbling blocks, you may have setbacks. It is the feeling of joy that you felt, the emotion of joy you felt when you were setting that goals that will keep you moving forward. So I just want to say that first before I deep dive into this teaching. So, how do you overcome procrastination and distractions in order for you to achieve your biggest goals with actionable strategies? So, there are 6 things I want to talk about today. Number one, learn to break down your goals into smaller steps. You have heard the saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, which means to go on a marathon, you have to start of your room and possibly start running in your garden first, right? So essentially, when a goal is so big, so gargantuan, the mind is afraid. How am I going to do it? How is it going to work? One thing that you must understand though is that brain is a goal seeking organ. Your brain is a goal seeking organ, which means if you don't give your brain a goal to achieve, you literally will begin to die. So if you wake up every day and there's nothing that you're aspiring to, there are no bigger goals, bigger directions that you are aspiring to achieve, what will happen essentially is you begin to die. You begin to die mentally, you begin to die even physically. That's the reason why when somebody leaves active service and they go into retirement, record shows that a lot of people that go into retirement that didn't have active things to do, they actually end up dying early. You know why? Because we were created for a purpose. Recently, I was watching a series on Netflix called The Playlist. It was a story of how the Spotify guys, brought about as a company to become, a worldwide industry that's basically revolutionized the music industry. So later, I went to check the Wikipedia page of the CEO. And one of the things I saw there was that after they've hit the money, they've made the money, they took the company public, they've made a lot of money. Now it appears as if they didn't really have the CEO and his partner. They didn't really have so much work to do again, and they got into some sort of depression. Right? It's on their Wikipedia page. You can go and read it, and that's the reason why they had to go back and get involved in something. I sort of brought that up to let you know that if you're not doing something with your life, you don't have a bigger goal that you're pursuing, you're not wired out that way. Your mind begins to go senile. You begin to think, what's there to live up in this life? You start to get into a lot of trouble. So we were created to do something. We're created to fulfill purpose. We're created to make a difference in this world. All right. So we have to be doing something that shows that we are adding value to other people that are coming behind us. So when you have a big goal, your mind by default the path of least resistance. I will say that again. The brain always seeks for the path of least resistance. So, therefore, if your mind feels that it is just going to be too much work to get this goal done, your mind shuts down. It has been said that human beings run towards pleasure and we run away from pain. What does that mean? It means if you are asked to do something and you realize that it's going to be painful to do it, a whole lot of people don't want to do that because when you've envisaged that it's going to cause you so much pain, it's going to be hard to do what you are set out to do, it's not a lot of people that can push through and just keep fighting and just keep moving forward. A lot of people will just give up and say, it's just too hard. I don't want to do it. So we run away from pain, we run towards pleasure. Now, what makes us to persevere through life, even when something is hard, is when we have attributed or attached what we are doing to something that is beyond us. So if we feel like we are on a course, if we feel like we are on a mission, if we feel like we are doing something that will leave some sort of legacy behind, even when it is hard, we are going to push ourselves to be able to achieve them. So when you have a big goal, your brain is looking for the path of least resistance. Your brain says, oh, this is too hard. I can't really do this stuff. So what we then recommend is that you should take that big goal and break it down into smaller steps. This is one of the ways in which you can overcome procrastination. When a goal is too big, it makes us feel overwhelmed and it leads to procrastination. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. The other day I was reading um in a book by a man called Marco, MJ Marco. I think that was his book. He put something in the book about like when tomorrow never comes. Like there's a word in your vocabulary that you should throw out, which is someday. Someday I will do this. Someday I will do that. Someday I will do that. Someday when the children have gone to school, then I will live my life. Someday, when my dog is weaned, then I will do this. And someday never comes, right? Because there will always be an excuse not to do something or an excuse to postpone what we are meant to do till tomorrow. So when something is so big, we feel overwhelmed, and then it will lead to procrastination where we start to tell ourselves, someday I'll do it, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. And before you know it, 6 weeks is gone and we haven't done it. So how do you do that? So let's say, for example, you want to write a book. What you should do is, instead of saying, "Oh, I'm going to write a book by so and so, whatever," make it to write maybe make a decision to write like 500 words a day, or make a decision to write 5 lines a day. Make a decision to say, I'm going to write every day, I'm going to write 5 lines, or every day I'm going to write 100 words. That's all it requires. So when you start that and you then become consistent over that, over a 6 weeks period, generally we recognize that habits are built over a 6 weeks period. So when you write that consistently over a 6 weeks period, it then becomes second nature. Then it becomes easier for you to do. So instead of saying, oh, I'm going to write a 200-page book, break it into smaller tasks like I'll write 3 outline, or outline 3 main chapters, or I will write 500 words today. So you can set goals that is achievable on a weekly basis, or goals that are achievable on a daily basis. And when you've achieved that goal on that particular day, pat yourself on the back. Why? Because you mean that you are making progress. How do you break down goals into smaller chunks? You can find any planning tools out there. It might be tools like Trello. You can use Trello, or even a small notebook. I have something here in my book here. Okay, you might not show, see if you can see my screen. So you can basically have something as simple as this. Just create a table: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and write down the time on this line, and just write down what you're going to do. That's a simple plan that you can basically create for yourself. All right. So that's point number one. Point number two. Point number two. Use time blocking. Use time blocking. Time blocking assigns specific time slots to tasks, eliminating ambiguity. So as part of the planning process, when you're planning your goals, one of the things you should do is allocate time to tasks. So let's say, for example, I give you the example earlier about writing a 200-page book, and we said, okay, make sure you outline 3 chapters in a week, or write 200 words in a day. You have taken this big, humongous task and you have broken it down into smaller chunks. The question now is, that smaller chunk that you're broken down to, you have to allocate it to a time in your calendar, right? Okay, so you then go into your calendar. Let's say on Monday, you make a decision and say between 5 and 6, or 7 and 8 in the morning, that is when you're going to write this 200 words for your book. You write it down and you block that time. So when you block time out for specific things that you are going to do, it eliminates ambiguity. So schedule specific time slot for your work. Schedule also specific time slots for personal activities. So you can say, between 9 and 10, I'm going to do certain type of work. So like when I have a big deadline, I always do what I call the hour of power. Basically I put my phone on do not disturb, and I focus and to get that thing done. So that way you can get a whole lot more done if you eliminate distraction. And one of the ways you can eliminate distraction is to block book time when certain activities will be done, so that you will not get unnecessary calls. You will not even get notification from your email, or notification from any app. You just stay focused so that you can get a lot of things done. All right. So one of the ways in which you can do time blocking is to use a tool called Pomodoro technique, which means you work for a certain number of time, you take a break for a certain number of time. So that way, when you take the break, you regain your energy, and then you go back again to focus on getting what you need to get done to get it done. Number 3 is start with quick wins. Start with quick wins. In strategy parlance, we always talk about picking up the low hanging fruit. Picking up the low hanging fruit. And what does that mean? It means if you have a big problem to resolve, Try and resolve the ones that you can quickly win in, so that it will give you the good feeling that you're making progress. It will serve as an impetus to make you to keep moving forward. So complete a simple task first that you can easily get done. That will help to build momentum and to boost motivation. Motivation essentially is the feeling you get when you know you are making progress. It's not enough for somebody else to tell you you're making progress. It's important for you to know that you're making progress. How do you know you're making progress? Let's say you have 10 things you're going to do. So on my notepad here, I've got a few things. You might not see that I've got a few things that I'm meant to be working on, right? So I write them down, right? And then as I do them, I cross them off. I cross them. So, and I tick them off, tick them off, tick them off. That way, I know that I'm making progress. So I call this to-do list, I call it to achieve list, not even to do it, to achieve list, which means this is what I'm going to be looking to achieve today. Again, it's about programming your mind with the right words that will empower you to keep making progress. Okay. So if your goal, for example, is to declutter your home, decluttering the whole home might seem so gargantuan, so big. Again, remember, human beings run away from pain and we run towards pleasure. Start with a small thing, start with one drawer. Declutter that drawer first, and that small success you get from decluttering that, will give you the energy to keep going forward. So start your day with a 2-minute task like tidying up your desk, right? So you can start today, for example, and say, okay, if I want to, instead of saying I'm going to tidy my whole house, start by saying, okay, I'm going to tidy up my desk, okay, and set a timer for that. Maybe for the next 2 minutes is what I'm going to do. Actually, timer works very well. Timer keeps you grounded. Timer helps you to realize the value of time. At times when I'm doing some pre-recording, or I want to do like something around my podcast, I normally use the timer, where I will set a time and say, okay, this recording should not be more than 5 minutes. And I put a timer in there so I can practice and see whether I can do it that way. Essentially, that gives you automatically, when you do that, you realize the value of time, actually, so that way you don't even end up wasting time that you don't have. Okay. All right. The next thing is that I want to talk about is reflect on root causes of procrastination. You need to pay attention and ask yourself the question, why am I procrastinating? Why is it that I don't want to do this stuff? Now, I gave you a hint earlier. Human beings run away from pain, we run towards pleasure. A lot of times, when we are procrastinating on something, it's because in our mind's eye, we have gone through the pain, and we didn't like the pain. We have gone through the pain of what we are going to experience if we do that thing, and because we didn't like the pain, we didn't like the pain in our mind. We didn't really feel the pain physically, but we have felt the pain in our mind, and we recoil from that pain. Because we recoil from that pain, we begin to give excuses. We basically justify why we are not going to do it, justify why we need to wait till tomorrow. This is one thing I also want to say. You see, when you are trying to go on a new direction and you want to do something that you haven't done before, I believe it was Bob Proctor that mentioned this before in one of those his seminar. He spoke about terror barrier, which means you automatically feel terrified because you are trying to do something that you haven't done before. So now, like, if you're like most people, when you become terrified, what do? You want to run away, right? That is a natural instinct of survival. You want to run away. But actually, when we are doing something that we haven't done before, we become uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is part of the process. When we're uncomfortable, is the exact same place where we are growing. You cannot grow when you are comfortable. You might want to write that down. You cannot grow when you are comfortable. When you are comfortable, growth does not happen. It is when you are not comfortable that growth happens. I'll give you an example. Have you ever wondered? Have you ever wondered how seeds planted in the ground get to grow? You dig the earth, you put the seed in there, you covered it all up. The seed now is surrounded by darkness, all alone by itself. But it is in that darkness, it is that lonely place that the begins to exert itself to begin to grow. What the seed is made up of begins to show up in a place of loneliness, in a place of darkness. That's why I say growth happens in darkness. Growth happens in darkness. So when you are comfortable, you cannot really grow. You grow when you are not comfortable, when you are trying to solve a problem, when you are, battling something that you need to achieve, that's when you begin to grow. So when you find out what is the root cause of procrastination, you may find out the reason for your procrastination is because you are afraid of the pain. And being afraid of the pain means you are essentially, without you knowing it, you are afraid of growth. Procrastination stems from a deeper issue like fear of failure or perfectionism. At times we say, oh, I don't want to fail. I don't want to fail because we don't want to fail. And that's a recurring theme in our mind. We have seen ourselves fail already and we didn't like it. When we see ourselves fail in our mind's eye, we normally will not like what we've seen, right? And guess what we'll do? We'll say to ourselves, well, it is better for me not to try at all because if I don't try, I cannot fail. And if I don't fail, I can at least be rest assured in my mind that I haven't received or embraced the label of failure in my mind. But not knowing this, that when I don't try and I don't put the effort in, I have automatically disqualified myself. I have denied myself the joy, the growth process, what I am going to learn by trying. When it comes to perfectionism, at times perfectionism actually is a form of scarcity mindset because the person who is having this perfectionism is saying, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready for it. And I'm not ready for it is a way of saying, well, I don't want to do it. It's like, let's say God calls you to go and preach. I say, oh, I'm praying about it, I'm praying. I just want direction from God. I'm praying about it. Well, you're not really praying about it. You are afraid of taking the step. And that's why you say, oh, I'm praying about it. Okay, by the way, I know I kind of oversimplify that, but I hope you get what I'm saying. When you are focused on things, everything being right before you do something, you will never do it. I think it was an adage that says, he who looks at the perfect time to sow will never sow. If you say, oh, unless the wind is blowing at this direction, unless the sun shows up on this day, that's when I'm going to sow. Then it will never happen. Then it will go back to the conversation I said earlier about your someday. It's going to be a someday time where it never happens. Okay. So let's say, for example, there's a client that you're working for, and that client delayed launching their business due to fear of failure. What will happen is they are afraid of failing because they focus on what could go wrong instead of them focusing on what they could learn from the process. If I think about, okay, I'm going to do this thing, I've never done it before, fear automatically shows up because that's the natural instinct. But if I tell myself, what are the things I could learn from this? What are the growth options or the opportunities for me to grow that exist in this new venture? Then should then fill me with a new set of excitement because now because remember the human brain is a goal seeking device. Once I start to tell myself what are the new things I could learn from here, what are the things that I did not know before that I could now know, in which way could this change my life positively? The moment I start asking that question in my mind, your mind start to give you ways in which what you are trying to do can benefit you, and all of a sudden that fear of procrastination will then begin to go off. So here is what I want you to do. When anytime you find yourself procrastinating, I want you to ask yourself this question: what am I afraid of? What is stopping me right now? Ask those two questions. When you say, what am I afraid of? When you ask that question from your mind will tell you what it is. And if you say, what's stopping me right now? Your mind also will tell you. Now, when you have the answers from your mind, from that thinking process, the next thing is you need to ask yourself the question, what can I do about this? Because if you can do anything about it, then go ahead and do something about it. When you do something about it, then one way or the other, that means you are already overcoming that limitation. The next point is build accountability. When we talk about accountability, you find somebody, whether it's your pastor or a friend or your or partner, I want to do this and I want to be held accountable for it, which means you make a promise to such a person based on what you want to do so that they can keep track of you doing those things. Basically, you want somebody to help you to honor your own commitment to yourself. Accountability increases your likelihood of following through. So, let's say, for example, you share your goal with a mentor, for example, or a friend, and you commit to them to check in on you once a week. You tell them, I'm trying to write a 200-page book. I want to write 200 words per day, which means I want to write 1,000 words, a thousand words per week or per 5 working days. But remember, I'm going to 200-page. Okay, a 200-page book might be, let's say, 15,000 words. Just making that up. Now you made a commitment to say, okay, every week you're going to write at least 1,000 or 1,000 words every week. So at the end of that week, they asked to be your accountability partner. We check on you and say, hey, wait, where are you with this? How's it going? Is it better? Is it working? Is it not working? And when you think about it carefully, for some of us that are in like project management, there is a framework called Scrum, where every day people that are working together on a particular project, they will come together every day for 15 minutes and do a check-in. And the check-in basically goes this way. What are we working on today? What did you do yesterday? Is there any blocker? That's almost like we are being accountable. We are all accountable one to another. And that is what makes accountability so beautiful. So one of the things you can do here is to join a structured program or an accountability group. If you cannot do it with somebody that is close to you that find an accountability group that you can join. By the way, I have Blueprint of Success Secrets is a membership program where I get to share some things with you on a monthly basis in the membership platform. And what that does essentially is keeps you grounded. It teaches you success principles from the Bible, but at the same time, it keeps you accountable. We keep you accountable to the things you say you want to. That's something that you would like to be a part of. Please, I will leave the link to the platform on the YouTube channel. You can just go there and check it out. Okay, thank you. The last point here, second to last point is reward progress. Reward progress. You know, imagine a child that you promise something and say, hey, if you do this, I'm going to give you this stuff. That child will go out and just flat out do whatever they need to do because there's a reward on the back of it. There's a reward on the back of it. Why is reward important? Because reward makes us feel that what we are doing is not for nothing. Rewards reinforce positive behavior and make the process enjoyable. If what you are doing, there's no reward in it, there's no kickback that makes you feel good about it. After a while, you might become disillusioned. You might say, hey, I don't really want to do this. So companies that promote a reward system based on what people feel is what they love as a reward, they always will see more productivity because not only are people just working for money, there is a bigger goal that is being pursued. I remember many years ago when I was in the bank and the bank was trying to raise a capital. They were trying to sell some of their stocks. I remember then that the management then gave a bit of reward to people that are going to look for money in the market. So if you bring certain things, they will reward you with certain things. So, and you can see everybody in the bank then went all out to try and raise money for the bank. It was because reward is reward is a good thing. It's one way in which you can motivate people. Salespeople world over are motivated by reward. Some people say, by the end of this year, if I can hit this target, I'll get this bonus. That's a reward system. Okay. So how can you reward yourself? You can say to yourself, after completing a big presentation, you can treat yourself to a favorite meal or an hour of guilt-free relaxation. If I go back to the example of the person who's trying to write this book, By the end of the week, if you're able to hit that 1,000 words that you plan to write that week, if you're able to hit it, yeah, you can say to yourself, okay, on Saturday you're gonna have a pizza that you maybe you haven't eaten that throughout the week, and say this Saturday I'm just gonna eat pizza. And as you are eating it, you are telling yourself this is a reward for the work that you have done this past 5 days. That way, you are tying the actions, what you are doing around the reward, to what you brought you there in the first place. So in that way, there's a synergy in your mind. So rewards must be matched to the task. Small tasks get small rewards. Big milestones deserve bigger celebration. Okay, so now those are the key things you can do to overcome procrastination and to overcome distraction. Now I've got some good news that I want to share with you. See, I've just developed what I've called Goal Achievers Mentoring Program. Goal Achievers Mentoring Program. And what it does is it gives you personalized one-to-one mentoring to help you stay on track on the goals that you have set for this year. It includes actionable strategies like the one I just shared with you now to overcome procrastination and distractions. It provides accountability to ensure you achieve your goals. So essentially, somebody is there. I will be there to be your accountability partner to make sure that you are doing the things you are meant to do, to ensure that you don't renege on your own promise to yourself. The Goal Achievers Mentoring Program is a structured, customized plan for your own aspirations. So it always starts with understanding where you are, understanding where you want to go, understanding the goals you have, and helping you to basically look at those goals and breaking them down until you are quite empowered, and you can then from there begin to do other things. And lastly, I want to say that spots are limited. There's only so many people I can help in one day. So if you really really want to be part of the program, I want you to go to wealth.daviesbamigboye.com/gas mentor. Gas mentor. If you go there, you'll see the document there. You can apply for the mentorship. Obviously, I can only take so many people. I can't take a lot of people, but if you apply, we'll consider your application, and then we'd love to work with you from that premise. By the way, also on when you get to the platform, you see different pricing points. Just don't worry about it. It's very clear around this. So you can just go back and read it, and then it will be clearer for you. I hope that's been helpful. So, what I just wanted to cover today is basically how you overcome procrastination and how you overcome distraction in your life, because distraction is a thief of progress, or is a thief of time. Yeah, right. So when you get distracted, you can't focus on where you're going. When you don't focus on where you're going, your goals become difficult to be achieved. Many years ago, God taught me a lesson about staying focused, and He says to me, "Imagine you are Usain Bolt and you're running on a 100-meter race, or as the gun as the gun goes off, signaling that you should start running, you're busy just looking at the people who are sitting on the side of the track that came there to basically celebrate with you, or basically came to watch you, but you're busy watching them. You're busy paying attention to somebody giving you a thumbs up or giving you a thumbs down, and you're getting stressed about it. And because of that, because you're so focused on that, you lose sight of the track, the goal set before you, and then it becomes like the goal becomes unachievable, or you get to where you're meant to get later than what God ordained for you. So I want you to take this year very seriously. Pay attention to what God is saying, and please, if you're interested, come and join me for the Goal Achievers Mentoring Program. It's going to be a game changer. We ask you to do at least 3 months commitment, but if you want to do more than that, it's entirely up to you. But we meet on a weekly basis, go through your goals. I support you. I help you to ensure that you can stay away from distraction. You can be chapped up. You can become accountable to somebody that has vested interest in your success and your progress. All right. I want to say thank you very much for allowing me to speak into you. Until next time, remember that you're blessed and highly favored. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, I would recommend that you please kindly subscribe to our channel and also send this video to somebody that might benefit from it. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.